Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. My name is Joshua Hale, and welcome to Do It Live Autonomy Podcast. Today, we're joined by these fine fellow autonomizers, and today is going to be really recapping about our experience in autonomy so far. I have a clip of a before shot of when I was just starting autonomy and talking about where I was and what I wanted to achieve. And then I got a little update of what I've accomplished in the 2 seasons that I've had the privilege to be a part of autonomy. Pardon my my voice, even though it sounds a little bit better for recording purposes. I got a head cold that I'm dealing with, and I'll probably be stepping out of this morning's podcast once we get going. But I'm going to do a handoff after myself, but I just wanted to share this clip talking about where I was before I started autonomy.
All right, this is my before shot for the autonomy course. It's November 22nd, 2018, and man, I've put a ton of work into myself getting to this point. I've been sober for about 6-7 years now, and since then I've really taken responsibility for myself and my actions. I had a huge, monster amount of bad habits that I had to confront and address, and once I got some semblance of control in my life, realized I was highly undereducated, underskilled, and this was something that from partying from early in my life, I had to quickly make up for. So I have been, I get up early, I have a morning routine, I'm productive, I've been very, I've made myself gain these skills without going to school, without going to like getting a low-rung business, a low-rung job at a business, and spending the time to work up the ladder. I've basically went to business for myself, and since then have just realized what skills I needed, found the resources to gain those skills, did the work to make those skills proficient, and now I am at a point where I can pay my bills on time. I'm still struggling to have a comfortable savings, but I've gained a lot of skills, and I'm ready to put all that to work to really make some big dreams happen. So I have momentum in my life, and I know I got that going, and that's not a small feat. So having the autonomy course pop up to me and be something that I jumped on, this is going to really be able to propel me into the desired future that I'm looking for. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hyped up. I'm eager, and I'm ready to do the work.
As you can see, I really had a lot that I wanted to achieve. I had been working for years on my own freelance and entrepreneurship, but I was really missing some key components on how to step it up to the next level and become more self-reliant, to be able to provide for my family, and just some direction and some community to be able to excel quickly. The thing with entrepreneurship, at least the route that I went, was totally uncharted, meaning I didn't really have anybody to ask how to do something. I was just going out and figuring it out as I went. The problem with that is, and one of the biggest responsibilities of entrepreneurship is you don't have a boss telling you how much you're worth. And not knowing how to ask for my worth. I loved helping people, but it was really hard to ask for my worth. I was really just barely asking enough in order to survive. It led to always being hungry and always moving forward and learning and a desire to grow. But I can look back now on the 6 years of working for myself and really see how low of a ceiling I was operating on as I was moving through and learning all these skills. I started off with just offering social media posts for clients, so I'd help them design and schedule content for their social media, but then learned Facebook ads and Facebook advertising, and then learned about funnels and how you can put all these different components together to drive traffic in order for a purchase, and just continue to work my way out and into a larger scope of digital marketing. But I didn't understand how much I was worth doing that. All I could come up with was this like vague concept of how much my time is worth hourly. So I would do the math and say like, oh, this project will take me this long. And so $20, $25, yeah, that's good money. Like compared to working in the restaurant industry and making minimum wage, getting a quarter raise here and there, I thought, yeah, I'm making good money if I'm making 20, 25 bucks an hour. But I never understood all of the administration costs, all of the software costs, all of the taxes that were being thrown on top of me. So I had no concept of how to structure my payment and services. And it really wasn't until this last year that I was able to find a method and find a formula to be able to start making a living wage and being able to pay for my business to run itself and being able to pay for a freelance team. So autonomy really gave me a lot of support in being able to understand these like larger concepts that are crucial in being able to run your own business that's going to be sustainable. And without what I've learned in the last year and a half, I would not be where I'm at right now. I'd still be not asking for my worth, because a big part of autonomy is sales and being able to offer value, which I was really great at, but then follow up with an offer, something that was sustainable. And one of the biggest lessons that I got was how much would it cost to pay myself what I was doing for my business. And once I heard and understood that framework, I immediately thought like, oh, there's no way I could pay myself for what I was doing. And that was a big light bulb that went off, that my whole payment structure was not sufficient or not self-sustaining, because I need to be able to pay myself. I need to be able to make a living wage so I can continue to provide for my family and have the business continue to grow. And I always was shortcutting myself, thinking like, oh, I'll just work extra hours and get this project done, and had that misconception of time equals money. That was really keeping me operating at a very minimal level, and one that wasn't able to adapt to the growth that I wanted to do for my business to be able to help others more. So this was a huge turning point in the last like 6 months that I get to credit autonomy for. There was a video that was just released by Dan Locke saying 9 skills that are hard to learn, but you can make money with. And I was happy to see that everything he shared in that video, I had learned like step by step through the last 6-7 years. Copywriting is one that I can express, but I'm more than happy to outsource to professionals, Agnieszka being one of them, because being a wordsmith is an art and a craft. But the rest of them, I had learned piece by piece, and now I have years of experience in building these funnels and doing these things. So I was really proud to see that video really talk about everything that I have invested my time in to be where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is Rich, Lisa, and I just started a new business together. It's going to be a marketing and consulting company called AUTONOMY Unlimited. And the sky's the limit for this company. Is going to be able to offer autonomy graduates a place to practice and hone their skills on real world projects. I'm going to be able to offer more and more services as more and more skills are brought into AUTONOMY Unlimited through the freelancers, with them just learning and crafting their own unique niches and their skills and being able to offer that to a larger business. The possibilities are really endless. So I really see this as a way that we can be able to choose which clients we get to work with, something that is new to me because I've always really said yes to anything that came across my desk just out of necessity to pay the bills, but being able to find projects that have a chance to be successful, that align with our values, help other freedom-loving projects with achieving their goals. So these things are really big and important to me that I hadn't been able to identify and be able to just focus on. But thanks to autonomy, now I have a clear vision where I want to go and the map in order to get there, and all the support and resources in order to provide an excellent service. Really excited for this upcoming year. It's going to be something I don't even know. I don't even know where I'm going to be in 6 months or where AUTONOMY Unlimited is going to be in a year. I think things are going to really start accelerating, which is mind-blowing for how fast things have already been accelerating. But just being able to help others and have support is going to achieve some really wonderful things. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton and ask Tyler. You're the one without the mute on. So Tyler, this was your first season, season 2. Can you paint us a little picture of where you were before autonomy started, and then talk about maybe some of your challenges, your accomplishments, and where you're heading next with your newfound resources and education?
Yes, and I hope you get feeling better, Joshua, and thanks for sharing with us that experience. I look forward to editing in the video regarding your pre-autonomy statements, and then up to where you're at now and everything that I understand about your journey to this point. So good stuff, and thanks for sharing. But yeah, in autonomy, the word itself and the idea is something I've been seeking for some time in my own life in various ways. You could look at that in my family life. We're trying to homeschool. We're trying to take a lot more responsibility for our child's education. Not trying, we're doing these things, right? I had been seeking to work remote and not be stuck to a desk necessarily, and achieved steps towards autonomy along the way. But there's still big components that need to be addressed that I'd like to move towards, goals of mine and things that I feel like I could do to become more autonomous. And so before autonomy, I was really just seeking still what that exactly was going to unfold as. And I'd already attempted a few businesses, online businesses in my recent past, in the last 3 or 4 years, 2 different businesses that were great learning experiences. But now I'm actually still, in debt to those businesses and working to get out of the situation that I created by trying those various businesses and, seeing numbers that maybe weren't there. So anyway, so failed businesses, that's nothing new. Everybody has, who's in entrepreneurship has failed, or several failed, or 20 or 30 failed. Like you said, Dan Locke, I think he said he had like 30 failed businesses before he had a success. You can look at any really big success, and it's a matter of how many times they failed before they finally got to that success. So, I wanted to start another new business. I'd already brainstormed about 100 ideas on an Excel sheet. And I, over like 6-month period, just kind of kept putting down what things I thought I could do next, what things I thought I could try next, and then distilled that down to 10, to 5, to 3, to the point where I was grappling over what these all look good. What one should I do next? And then maybe these other ones can come after that if I, sell this business or move on. And so that's right around when I joined Autonomy, when I was in that phase. So really for me, felt like I was a surfer, kind of surfing, waiting for that big wave to come. Here it comes, making sure I was ready to jump on. And it's definitely been like that, like a wave from where I was at, and then taking me really in a lot faster direction and standing up and, being able to look around a little bit more. And so with this metaphor, I've ridden the wave of autonomy now to the end of season 2. And it's not like now I've achieved everything and I'm done and we're all good. Really, I'm just onboarding the concepts and the information and then trying to work on the skills that I've learned in autonomy now. And really, one of the things I wrote down on my goals or my dreamlining Excel sheets, which I was, eventually one day I'll have a video on my whole dreamlining GTD process and how I incorporate all these things into action items daily. But one of those things on there, I kind of lost my train of thought actually of why I went into my Excel sheets and now I got into all that. But the idea of the Excel sheet, anyway, I was trying to capture that. Nope, it's gone. It might come back. But so with autonomy, I decided to go with a business and took the one top idea that I had, and now I'm formulating that into an actual service offering. And okay, see, I told you it would come back. It was like a boomerang, and it took a minute. But the idea is to create my infrastructure of a service offering now, and then provide massive value. And so once like the basics are out of the way, and one thing I've learned in autonomy is like providing value, right? It's not necessarily selling and going and having conversations and trying to close people. I mean, these are techniques that people can use, but I really, that hit home with me to the point where I did put that down. Once the basic infrastructure of this new business is laid out, provide massive value, only focus on providing value. And I don't think that's a losing strategy. Obviously, there's more to it than that, and there's a lot of ins and outs of starting your own endeavor. But like you said, Joshua, to look forward to have Autonomy Unlimited and a structure there that I may be able to participate in, that's more than I could have ever asked for with this course. I didn't understand that as being an opportunity. I didn't realize that that was part of what autonomy would turn into or be about, or an aspect of it that students and graduates could take advantage of. So congratulations on formulating that idea, not only formulating it, but I know that you've been working endlessly on this project. And so I'm really proud to be any part of the autonomy team. And the aftermath of this, I think, is still unfolding for me. So it'll be interesting to see over this next year, and watching the student 3 people and helping out where I can again in the course would be, it's really exciting. So, I'm kind of just rambling on. I felt like that's a good kind of overview of where I was at, though, and where I'm at now is feeling much more confident in what I'm setting out to do, because I was going to do that anyway and set out on the things that I'm doing now anyway. But this autonomy course just came in at the right time for me and gave me a whole tool bag of ammunition to use, and a continuous resource that's seemingly inexhaustible with the people and the conversations and the community and the business aspects and the entrepreneurship skills and just overall spirit that people embody in this course is, like I said, it's not like it's over now that the season 2 ended. This, for me, it seems like an ongoing contribution in a very positive way to my life.
Are you interested in disclosing any like firm goals that you have in front of you?
Well, to be more specific about the type of business and the service offering would be content production assistance or consulting, media production for people that do similar work that what Richard Grove does or Brett Venat, or people like you were saying that maybe share similar values. But yeah, I mean, so to kind of solidify a goal is to get this thing off the ground and actually have a couple working clients and be able to add more projects to the portfolio, so that eventually I can actually do a course on some of this stuff like we've been doing with Tech Tuesdays. So that's part of like the second chapter of this would be to start doing courses on this, really, you know, in the overall goal of helping people get their ideas out of their mind and out into the world, and especially Agnieszka, if they have something valuable to say. And a lot of the time there's all these hurdles in between, you know, of what you want to do and then all the technical stuff that you have to work through to get there. So really just helping people through that process. And, you know, we'll see how it goes at this point. You know, it's not actually up and running to the point where I have working clients, but that would be a real goal that I would throw out there.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to see that formula like solidify. And again, I know I'm stoked to be working side by side you, because as you develop those skills and that offering, I'll be able to pass that along to the clients that working with Autonomy Unlimited. So I'm really excited to see this all come together like Voltron. Michael, you just completed your first season of Autonomy. You want to give us a little before and after description?
Sure. Yeah. You know, again, really appreciate seeing everybody. I guess I get to see everybody quite a bit these days, but you know, I'm really enjoying this experience. As far as where I started, you know, I'm entering into my 50s, and I've had a rather interesting life where I've tried to do a lot of different things, and I've had a lot of experiences, and you know, was kind of getting in at a point where I was a bit frustrated. I had a lot of great ideas, but actually trying to get them done, there was something that was missing. And luckily, you know, Autonomy came along, and I just wanted to hit on kind of 4 points that I thought were really powerful for me. The first was fearlessness. When I was younger and more ambitious, I had a fearlessness that, you know, I just would not relent when it came to whatever the success I was after took. I would do whatever it took. And I took on a lot of challenges. I used to be kind of known for doing the impossible. And to some degree, I took that to the nth degree, and it kind of wore me out. But in doing that, and then, of course, becoming older, I think it kind of tempered my fearlessness, and being exposed to this group of people and kind of the concept of doing it live was something that kind of restored that fearlessness to me. And so that is certainly the most powerful thing for me is I really don't have, you know, I'm regaining that fearlessness when it comes to failure. If it comes to, if I have to fail and I have to fail fast, I'm more than willing to do that, and I will continue to do that. to get where I need to go. And and then the second is kind of being in a community of people that has that same attitude and has that same understanding, and that has the support to to see what's going on and say, yep, you didn't do it very well, but I can see you're improving. Keep going, or maybe I can help you here. Having that kind of thing is an exceptional gift, and I'm very grateful for that. The other thing is something that Richard brought up in the course, which was his acronym for SELL, which was sincere, encourage, listen and learn, and love. There's a kind of embodiment of what selling is, to him, and what he thinks is the most ethical version of selling. That's it. What you were talking about earlier, Tyler, in regard to just, adding value to people and being there to demonstrate value to them. This is really how it's done. Being sincere is the first step. And so being honest with others about what your intentions are, and what you can do for them, and being able to listen and learn about what it is that they need. These are all ways that we can deliver value and really sell ourselves. And I think that's a really important lesson that I learned, because I really didn't have a positive outlook when it came to sales. I just, for all the things that are in society, sales is one in which it's kind of, broadcast is deceptive, and I didn't like that. But that's not what it has to be. And so I'm really grateful for that. And then finally, it's something that Richard describes as the convection current of consistency when it comes to the buyer's experience and the customer service experience, and having this shrinking infinity of how to deal with your customer from the point that they're purchasing something, or they have the attention, all the way to where they're purchasing it, and then going through the other side, which is the buyer's experience, and doing the customer service that leads them back to building your reputation as being someone that delivers the absolute utmost of value to your customer, to the point that your customer is singing your praises and is actually doing part of the selling for you. And that's another one that, as far as a method or process that people can adopt, that can make their business work better and really perpetuate success forever for a business person. Embodying that method, I think, is key. So I'm at 5 minutes. That's enough for me. I will pass it over to Agnieszka.
How did I know? I was already unmuting when you said my name. So about my journey in autonomy, the funny thing I find about autonomy is it doesn't matter how many lectures I attend, every single time I get a deeper understanding and a different understanding. It's like one of those books that you read, and every time you read the same book, you get a different takeaway from the book. That's what autonomy is like to me. So I'm really looking forward to season 3 already, even though I'm a season 1 student, because every single time I get a deeper cut of what it's really like, how I can present myself better in the world. And I'm really glad that Joshua brought up the ceilings idea, because that's a really easy way of understanding how we're raising ourselves in the world. But the way I see it, I already did it. The way I see it is there are 2 different ceilings, right? So there's the one ceiling where it's about financials, how you're making money and how you're sharing your gifts with the world and getting a just reward for that. And that's one thing. And I'm working on that, and I'm learning how to present myself better. And also in autonomy, seeing other people being more successful at getting money or getting paid fairly for what they're doing, or maybe restructuring, how they're restructuring their offer, going from an hourly basis to a more robust payment structure. that's all becoming a very, like I'm learning and I'm getting better at that, working with my own copywriting clients. But on the other hand, there's that other ceiling, the ceiling of your life's purpose, the ceiling of like what moves you inside, right? And I think when I was younger, well, when we are younger, when we go through school in our teenage years and we are told, no, don't do this, don't do that. You should be a lawyer. You should be at this. You should be at that. We kind of tend to, in that process, forget who we really are. So after 20, the whole life, our whole life is a process of uncovering that diamond that shines inside your heart, right? So if you imagine layers and layers and layers of shit that doesn't really belong to you, because you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should be a whatever accountant, doesn't really belong to you. It's others people's shit, but they piled it on to your little diamond as you were growing up. So now, throughout our lifetime, we're working on uncovering that diamond, stepping further and further. And that's what I see to be that other ceiling. How close are you in your every interaction to really shining who you truly are inside, and how you can reach even further? And myself, even back when I worked at IBM, I wanted to help people. So I helped them reset their passwords over and over and over and over again. That wasn't really a good way of shining my little diamond. But here and there, I could actually help them out. I could teach them little skills that would serve them for years, And so I started Raising Excellence because I initiated it, and then we worked as a group together to build Raising Excellence. And so doing a project with people is a whole new experience for me. And also learning how to take an idea of how I can shine my diamond even more and bringing it into something that actually is real. And it may be good, it may be not so good. We're learning how to do it better. We're creating every week is a new experience where we're striving to do better and better and better. But this exercise, this risk that we're all taking is raising our purpose ceiling every single week. And so, yeah, and so that's the goal, to let your true light shine. And that's why I started doing more face readings. I know I was saying I wasn't going to do and more, but it's true. I started doing the face readings, and that's much more of getting people's light shine, much more of my purpose. And yeah, I really enjoy it. So thanks. Okay, I'm done now.
No, and it's really great to watch your progress. And you and I talked last week on the phone a little bit. I think it was last week, a couple weeks ago, and talking about this same thing. And that since that conversation, I've really been thinking about the ceilings. And it's like an artificial limitation, artificial scarcity mentality that keeps us so enabled to really excel in the way that we could and thrive. And I like that you guys do it live. Michael, you brought up doing it live as well, and you have. And I think people probably watch this and they're like, this looks pre-recorded. Like, why do they call it Do It Live? So we all kind of understand what that means in the spirit of autonomy, but Michael or Agnieszka, what do you think about, can you explain that a little bit better to people watching this that don't quite get this, and why are these people talking about, and why do they talk about Do It Live when they're pre-recording it? Like,
But
what
we're
is the
not
spirit
pre-recording
behind that?
it. The whole school is watching this live. The whole autonomy community is watching this live. So we are doing it live for the school. Just because that it's posted on the internet later doesn't make it pre-recorded. Because if I sneeze right now, there are going to be people there watching me sneeze.
Well, I would say that it is another thing that Richard has pointed out, and that is schedule your own success, and that is put the time on your calendar, schedule it into your day. What you're going to do. If you decide you're going to do something, put it on your schedule and do it. And if you don't prepare yourself properly, do it anyway. But do it. And that's kind of the idea of the Do It Live is that when it hits the schedule, it's time to do it, regardless if you're prepared or not. But this is kind of also the learning process. because it is, excellence isn't just doing it perfect. It's doing it and improving, and constantly improving. And that's really where, where the rubber hits the road, is when you're actually, taking on the responsibility of actually getting something done and moving forward and taking action. That's what it's really about, taking action, because action is one of the major steps that we need to take. Even if it's a baby step, action is the only way that we're going to get from where we are to where we want to be. And that's something that, unfortunately, so many people are very fearful of taking that first step or taking the action and looking like a fool, and then, just being shamed from ever trying it again. You can't go at it like that. You've got to just, you just got to keep going forward, and keep scheduling more, keep learning, keep improving. And that's what Do It Live is really about, is learning from the experience, regardless of what your preparation is, or what the circumstance is. If you're going to do something, do it.
Years
Perfect.
and years ago, I developed the system called 7 Steps to Manifestation, where it takes you through all the emotional reactions to creating whatever you want. And step 7 is take a step, no matter how small, in the direction of your dreams. And even if that step doesn't take you where you want to go, it'll show your intention in moving forward and create the opportunity for you to step into next.
Yeah, beautifully said. Both answers are correct, like what you first said, Agnieszka, and what you just followed up with. But it is doing it live, like we are live doing it in the classroom to practice that skill. But then everything Michael said too, like that's the spirit of it. And just to source it back, I mean, if people don't know, it's from Bill O'Reilly, like totally losing his head, and they have this recorded, and he's just says, "We'll do it live then," because it wasn't working out, and that's where it originally comes from. Richard has taken it and made it more into what Michael's talking about, but then also actually going live like they do on Raising Excellence. It's all the same, but there's 2 ways you could take it. Timothy, I've seen you popping in here, and we want to definitely get to your pre and post season 2 experience in autonomy. I believe you're a season 2 student who maybe came in a little bit late in season 2. I could be wrong about that, but Timothy, if you have a chance to give us your take on autonomy and your experience.
Yeah, when I first started, it was kind of the one thing that was challenging for me was the fact that I had so many different ideas for businesses, but I didn't know how to start them because I didn't have enough confidence in myself. So naturally, I started going through the motions of, okay, here's something new. I'm going to try it and see how it works. The same old attitude. And then I realized quickly that, hey, I feel at home here. Maybe I can do something. So, it was right off the bat, I was like, hey, I finally feel like I'm where I belong. And so naturally, one of the business I was working on, I was struggling with communication. So after about 3 or 4 weeks in autonomy, I went back to that business and I started communicating uh, my intention. So, I grew up in a house that I was never allowed to speak. So naturally, I've been working on myself, as a full-time job. So I'm going to use my experience definitely to help other people because I know I'm not alone in this journey. So that's the wonderful thing is I no longer have to focus on, uh, you know, I had like extremely like self-consciousness. I was being easily led by others. I felt like a strong need to be liked. I was unaware of my own, insecurities and how I was projecting it. So, just learning to be myself and try to be personable and not worry about all those things is I feel like I could do that in autonomy. So, I started out, I was like busy being angry, broken, pissed off, all the time. So it was great joining this group. If somebody were to ask me, what is autonomy? Can you tell me in 5 words or less? And I would say, it's your ability to turn your life around. Wait, was that 5 words? Anyway.
So when are you booking your face reading, Timothy?
Oh, anytime. How about Monday?
Well, I'm doing them live on Raising Excellence every Saturday. So I think we're booked for
Oh,
them
Saturday.
for this week and next week. So the week after that, you can definitely have go. I don't have
I
the.
like the word definitely. That's nice. I responded definitely very well.
I like words.
Yeah. Me
Yeah,
too.
thanks for sharing that, Timothy. I've enjoyed talking with you in the law room as well, and the contributions that you've added in there have been really valuable to me. The law room is definitely one of the more like exoteric sections of the autonomy, right? Like you got to be wary of just falling in there if you're not quite sure what that's all about. Might be more of an advanced realm of autonomy, which there is several like layers and tiers to students, so they might come in and feel a little bit overwhelmed, but there is in the next season, I believe they're going to kind of section things a little bit more so the course material can be focused on, and then those things that should maybe come later so that you can focus on the course will trickle in. But Timothy, you also, I know, have started new projects since kind of, not that they were totally new, these ideas to you, since starting Autonomy, but I know that you've been talking about a project recently that you started. So did Autonomy help you solidify those ideas? And actually, do you think you'd be where you're at with that concept or that project, if you hadn't joined Autonomy? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that the fact that it was easier to, crack a book or do a 5-hour podcast on Friday night, when those things became easy because my mindset had changed. um, it was more fun. It was easier. I was able to get through some of these blocks that I had, and getting out of my own way was basically my challenge. Because if you think about it, there's an old Buddhist saying that the lotus flower grows in a big muddy swamp, and I think I believe I'm the lotus flower, man. I'm growing in the muddy swamp of life, and everything's kind of supposed to happen in your life. You have these challenges. I have these challenges for a reason to overcome, and I have a lot to share with the world. And I've been quiet for a long time because I was worried, a little shy, stuff like that. But um, it's
You
going to be
are the
wonderful.
flower.
This
Hang on a sec,
big
Tyler.
time.
You are the flower, but you're also your own gardener. So you have to take responsibility for tending to the flower.
Yeah, I got a lot of seeds, that's for sure. uh, that's funny you said that. Me and my daughter did a science project this week. We had to grow, 3 different plants, one in natural light, one in sunlight, one in the dark. And guess which one grew?
Sunlight.
So that was the project.
The one in the
Yeah.
dark, right?
So, well, no. But it's funny that you mentioned that you got to be your own gardener, because that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I look forward to I feel like I'm just barely getting started. When you plant a seed, how far down are you supposed to put it? How do you water it? What time of year do you plant it? These are
That
all things
depends on
I'm
the seed.
discovering in my own life. Yeah.
Avocados have really long growth time. I think it's years before they fruit. So depends on the seed, depends what you're working with.
Well, if you look at the bamboo, bamboo doesn't grow for the first 4 years. In the 5th year, it grows 5 times. So that's what we're doing.
There you
We're
go.
like bamboo right now. So
We're like, well, we're
keep
each
at
a
it.
different
Keep at
plant,
it.
and it's all good. We can all be different plants, and we can have the longest or the shortest growing seasons. The only thing we shouldn't be doing is judging ourselves for the growing season that we're engaging in.
Wow. That just hit me like a gut punch. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Um, See, the wonderful things that are happening in this course, I gotta say, not only I can't wait to give my value and my input, but I can't wait to uncover some of the things that really need to happen on this planet. And I think we are the pioneers of this autonomy, and it's going to be magnificent.
You know, that brings up something that I think is really important is the environment that Richard has created, you know, essentially by hand selecting who the people are in this group, really creates that environment of supportive learning. And, you know, Tyler, maybe you can speak to this a little bit about like some of the discussions that we've had on different things. For most groups of people, it would be a trigger session that would end in explosions of anger and hatred and disenchantment in many ways. And pretty much, I think every discussion that we've had, even when we've had people that are on completely the opposite sides of a particular topic, we're, there's this willingness to understand that allows a great deal of learning to take place because it isn't, you know, it is really about deconstructing what our ideas are, what our beliefs are, and being able to understand better how to understand what is really the concept that we're after, you know. And I think this is another thing that allows us to grow our confidence is when we can be on different sides of a topic or a subject and be able to absorb both sides of the argument, and then from that have a much better understanding of what that actually means. In a lot of cases, you know, the emotion that's tied to a lot of these issues is really just something that's been conditioned into us, and it's unnecessary, you know. And so being able to separate that and then just, you know, be able to really understand how to gather the best information and do it in a logical way.
Chloe, guys. This is my daughter. She's been watching me this whole time. Say hi.
Hi.
Nice to
This is
meet
my
you.
daughter, Chloe. So, yeah. She looks like me, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, real life just stepped in.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, Michael, I agree with you. And like the conversation we had last night would probably be nearly impossible in many other forums. So that for me is another huge value add. So thanks for bringing that up because I'm one who tends to, you know, want to get into things. And like Agnieszka was saying before we started, maybe go a little bit too hyper focused on something. I'll admit that I'm not worried about saying that I do that. I do that all the time, and it's part of kind of my way of kind of understanding something is zooming in and zooming out quite a bit. And so it's to have a place where I can come and bounce those ideas off of people. There isn't probably another place that I have right now where I could have had that discussion that I had last night and have the opportunity to have many different voices chime in. But then, like you said, I mean, I have no hard feelings about the conversation. It was a little bit more of a debatey format, and I apologize to all the people that were there if it was more of just a casual thing and it got way too serious. I, you know, tend to do that as well. So at least I'm aware of some of these downsides of, you know, my behavior. And, you know, through interactions like that, though, you learn more about yourself. And that's Ferdinand kept asking, what's the point of this? I don't understand. Well, part of it is just that self-knowledge that I got. And so in a selfish way, I learned a lot about my own thought processes through that conversation, and hopefully the same with others. And there wasn't just too much confusion. And if there was, we can always follow up again. There's Discord rooms we can hang out in. And Eric and I, Agnieszka's partner, have had several conversations throughout, the last 6 months, or I always say 6 months. It's only been like 3 or 4 months. And so, he was able to kind of bring out a little bit of energy into the conversation. And I was not taken off. I was not taken back by this. I, had interacted with him before to understand, okay, he's more fiery. He's definitely more like me in that way. I can get very fiery. And so I'm not going to sit and, say, well, that was inappropriate or something like that, right? That's part of getting into something. When we were talking about philosophy, it can get heated. I agree with you, Michael, that like if you bring a lot of emotion though to that table, that's typically not going to go very well. Just because people find that a little bit distasteful, right? It doesn't smell good, and it doesn't feel good to have that type of energy in the room. So I'm definitely still practicing. I mean, I kind of looked at yesterday as like a practice. It's still the nerf zone, even though it was more of a free forum, because if I go out in the real world and try to discuss these things with people, I feel like we're more armed now, all of us who sat around that table last night, to explain our ideas properly, not saying I'm right, you're wrong, but just explaining it more succinctly so that there isn't this huge room for misinterpretation. Like the subject we were talking about last night has a lot of room for misinterpretation, whether you understand what it fully means or not. I think the evidence is if you look around, there's a mass, wild, different interpretations, right? So
Well,
it helps us get better. Yeah.
I would encourage you to keep going with what you're doing there, because I think it was really important, because a lot of the things, we get to explore kind of who we are, our human nature, and what our conditioning is. And really, some of the times we've got to go through uncomfortable settings to really kind of trigger our own complexity and expand our comfort zone by getting into that uncomfortable area. And so, like, this is one of those examples of, some people might have been uncomfortable with the discussion and said, why can't we just agree? Why can't we just agree on what it is and go on? Well, you know what? But there's this finer point that we need to really discuss, because I'm a little bit confused about why this is the way it is. Digging into that minutia is something that you have a real knack for, and it is a strength that you bring to this community that I think is a really important thing, because there are people that, I'm one of them. I'm just a big thinker. I don't want to dig into the details. Like, if it works, I'm fine with it. Great, I'm going ahead. Whereas, is there a better way to do it? Is there like, can we get like 50% more efficiency out of doing this a different way? Are we missing something? There are other people that want detail. They want to know what the details are. How does it work? Is it working perfectly? This is all part of, constant improvement. And so, we all have kind of our knack, and really getting to a point, and this is another thing that I feel strongly about from this group and from this experience, is I feel more comfortable being the unique person that I am in this group of people, because I know that there are, that all these things that we need to handle, I don't need to handle all of them anymore. I've got, when it comes to details, there's people like you, and then there's people that want to care about things and really get into, how people feel and what their face looks like. We've got Agnieszka, so I've got a bunch of different people that I don't necessarily need to know everything. I just need to know the things that I'm really excited about and love to do. And the more time I get to do those things, and the less time I have to worry about those other things, is really another whole benefit for me. I can add more value because I'm spending more time doing the things I really love to do.
And the one thing that my mom said was very, very brilliant. She said that it's a Socratic school. Autonomy is a Socratic school. And by that, she meant that we explore different topics in different groups. And so, because it's a school, so in a school, you'd have different levels of engagement in different topics. Like, in a traditional school, you'd have beginner physics, middle physics, higher physics, right? So when you guys are talking about talking in the law room, that would be one of the more advanced classes where people would have to come with a certain level of knowledge and understanding. And then you can discuss it at a really, really high level. Whereas some other, like for myself, I would be in the health room and I would be discussing topics, remedies and things like that there. So because it's such a varied school, there are all these different conversations going on at the same time. And we all learn how to speak better.
Thanks, Agnieszka. I like the fact that this course can give you is really getting to know people. It presents a kind of comfortability that doesn't exist in the real world. So it enables us to really download our, I don't want to call it issues, but it enables us to become who we are or who we need to be productive in society. And like you mentioned, Agnieszka, you can go to the health room and download there because you have a lot to offer. And putting together an offer is definitely why we're here. And I just want to say that you can probably overwhelm a lot of people with what you know, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, because in autonomy we are observing very ancient rules of communication, very ancient rules of conversation. So some of the more modern rules, like don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics, don't get angry, don't show your emotions, don't offend people, all of these things go out the window, because in autonomy we're encouraged to openly discuss whatever we feel like. And there are all of these different topic areas where we can openly share what makes our heart sing, right? Without fear of being judged or dismissed at a moment's notice, or losing friends because we have a different opinion, because the whole culture of the school is about open discussion. So it doesn't matter what the topic is and how deeply you believe in it, I can still openly listen to you and I can remain with my own opinions at the end, or I can change my opinion. All of these options are open to me in the discussion.
You know what? Because of this course, I just realized when I went back my business in the law club, I was able to have a discussion based on what I learned in autonomy. It's ask questions and listen. It's so simple.
Yeah, I have a story about that. That's something that happened at a get together. I was at my son's grandma's 60-year-old birthday party. I know that was a funny way of phrasing it, but it was a dress up party. We were supposed to dress like we were from the 60s, and I kind of knew what they meant by that, more of like the hippie later 60s. But I went for like early, like, just coming out of the 50s, like, that show Bewitched, like how Samantha and her husband dressed, like a sweater vest with a tie and some slacks, just like really plain, ugly colors. I found the perfect vest. But so we're at this party, and honestly, I felt like a lot more dressed up than I would normally dress up to go somewhere at that point. And to be honest with you, I didn't look that bad either myself, if I do say so. But so anyway, the whole point of the story is, like, towards the end of the party, my wife just approached me and said, "Hey, this is my friend, and she does her own business. She's into filmography, and she has a degree in that, and she's trying to become like more autonomous. Can you guys talk?" And first of all, so if the things I'd been doing in my life recently, my wife probably wouldn't have introduced me to a friend in that way. She would have just said, "Yeah, he does like IT. I don't know what the hell he does, and he's a weirdo." now I was actually presented in this way, which I felt very honorable about, like, and she's like, and he works remote, and he's working more on new businesses, and she's told me, I said, so what it is that you're trying to do, and she explained to me her goals with a new business and media production, and in the meantime, she wanted to do tutorials for English teaching or one-on-one tutoring. And so this, to me, I'm like, this is a golden opportunity for you. And so I actually had a way to follow up with her and give her a way to follow up on her own goals through what I have to offer, which I have things to offer for you now, and before having this course and meeting and network marketing with the people that I have, I really wouldn't have had much to give this person besides some basic tips. Here's how I became a remote worker, and you can do it. But now I had a way to get her email and follow up with her and say, here, look, you can go here. We can set up a meeting. I have a team of people that can address your website if we need to. And, if you're interested in autonomy, you can go this way. So it was my first kind of like lead in the real world that I had found just through conversation, that it wasn't me. All I did was show up dressed a little bit nicer than I normally dress, and she didn't look at me as somebody like, why would I listen to this person? I felt like she was giving me the attention, like, wow, I'm really interested in what you have to say. So just that experience, although it was a dress up party, I came home like, I need to start buying nicer clothes. And like, when I go out to a party, I should try to dress a lot nicer. So it was a pretty experience.
Just because you wore a different shirt. Oh, my video is off. Sorry.
Not only because of that, but yeah, I mean, it was like the presence, and we bring our children when we go with us. We don't just hand them off to a babysitter.
It is a little bit because of you, the way you dress, because when we're talking with a potential client, they have to perceive us as somebody from their own social class or somebody a little bit higher in order to trust us or believe in us, going subconsciously, right? So you might wear the best organic cotton t-shirt that costs you $180, but if that t-shirt looks like you're a street person, nobody will listen to you, because their conscious social testing thing will realize that you're a lower social class than them. And it's all like, it's not consciously done to be, but it takes a lot of effort to honestly look at a street person and believe like that they have something to teach us. So that's just a more extreme example of what happens when you wear a ratty t-shirt and try to get a client.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
can speak. I got a little story to add to that. And when I was doing construction as a construction superintendent, I'd always wear a tie to work, a shirt and tie. And even though I was a construction superintendent, most of the guys that were superintendents were kind of the old school guys, the guys that were iron workers or carpenters, that started their path and they just worked their way all the way up to the top. But they're, what I would consider blue collar type workers that just advanced their knowledge and wisdom to a point that they were in charge. Going from it at a different direction, I was a younger guy. I was in my 20s, and I was bringing in computers essentially into the construction business. But having that ability to be distinct and like what Agnieszka said, is allowing people to perceive me as somebody that was knowledgeable, and just assume that right from the beginning really made a difference in how they addressed me. It gave me that opportunity to kind of establish my relationship at that level. And then from there, I would talk when it came to talking to the guys on the job site, and whether they be a plumber or whatever, be able to relate to them and say, yeah, well, I used to be in the Army. I used to be the guy on the low end of the totem pole. I understand your position entirely. That gave me a really unique situation that was really all because of just how I appeared to them initially. Allowed them to really grasp that I had something to give them.
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate that this is true in one way, right? If you look at the Milgram experiment and the way people will just kind of like, oh, you're wearing a white vest, like you must know what you're talking about in all cases when it comes to technical or medical things. And, there is that component of human behavior, but what we're talking about, or what I believe that we're talking about here, is not using that knowledge in a malicious way. And we did get into this last night as well. It's like it all kind of depends on how you react to the information at hand. Do people have first judgments about you in the first 20 seconds of meeting you? Absolutely. If you look more authoritative, do they tend to not only listen to what you say, but maybe even start to take your suggestions? Absolutely. So if you're coming that to manipulate them, then that's a totally different story than coming at them with a true offer of something that you can that's valuable to them. And now you're copywriting, like the I heard in the course. I don't remember which lecture it was, but you're always copywriting, right? So right now with my little bit messy desk over here, and yeah, I am just more casually dressed. It's a form of copywriting. I'm not selling anything at the moment. In one, you're always selling, right? Like we're selling a podcast. We're asking for your attention. You to pay attention with your time. And so in one way, like if I was just coming in here just out of my pajamas and, hadn't showered this morning and I'm all, out of it and just kind of like, whatever, here we are, do it live. Like that is a big difference between bringing, a certain level of understanding of this perspective that other people are going to have of you out into the world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, it is one of those things where you do have to understand your audience, because, you could, like we were having a discussion about anarchists. If you come showing up with a real nice pressed police uniform to a group of anarchists and say, hey, I've got some great ideas, obviously that's not going to work very well either, So it does depend on who your audience is, and being able to really kind of appeal to them in the language that makes sense to them. So again, it is also recognizing, the vocabulary that represents as well. So sometimes it might be a suit, sometimes it may be a tie-dye t-shirt. It depends on who the audience is where that becomes appropriate.
Absolutely.
So
And I think that the interpretation of it is not necessarily societal. I think it could be like a lot more primal than that. It could go back to our, like birds do that with the different colors and the different, like peacocks, different movements of the tail mean different things. And all the peacocks understand it without actually being able to, talk about it. It's something subconscious. And I think that with the clothing and the social classes and all that, I think that is also like the social classes are not natural, but the seeing if somebody's one of you or one of them is a very primal thing. It's they either look like the people that you're accustomed to seeing or they don't, basically.
it's an interesting subject for Tyler, huh?
Autonomy, do it live.
Well, in one way, I think it's unfortunate because I think we should be able to hear what somebody has to say regardless of their appearance, unless they're like covered in mud or something like totally distracting. That's different. But in one way, I think that's why I said it's unfortunate but fortunate, because, there are people that have really good things to offer and really good things to say that might not understand how to really take care of their own appearance, or they just don't care about that kind of thing. Like they're not in that form of mindset. They're just not thinking about it. But an example that Daniel McCarthy gave in a integration exercise, and Michael was there, is that when we kind of understand that there's something wrong in Oz, right, or there's something not right, and then you grow up and just sort of uncover the system, right, as it is, and all the issues with it. There's a form of wanting to just totally rebel, and I don't know. We all go through that in a different way. But Daniel was giving the example of kind of, the high school typical dropout / barely shows up, long hair, dressing kind of crappy, smoke weed and drop out. And in the end, like those things might actually be more detrimental to you than what the school system was actually going to do in the long run. Like this, it's healthy. I think that immunity, that rejection of something that you know is not right, that's a healthy response. But like some people can stay in that mode and think that that opposite side of the pendulum is the place to stay now, rather than kind of keep flowing, keep
when you
that clock going,
described when you described the person doesn't get along with school, gets bad grades, drops out, smokes weed, I was thinking, wow, you're just describing the top 50 most successful entrepreneurs in the world.
That's true, but you can stay stuck
No
in a
doubt.
victim mentality is kind of the point I
Of
was
course.
getting at. You can stay in
Yeah,
that,
of course.
I'm not
And the
going to
thing,
shave and,
yeah,
all those things.
absolutely. And the thing that you said about it should be, one should be able to listen to somebody no matter what they're dressed like. That's a cerebral exercise. You can physically go into your brain and change that thing, like suspend the disbelief and understand where it's coming from, so remove it from your brain. But you can never control other people doing it. The only person you can actually do that with is yourself. So you can start with yourself and make yourself be able to listen to people no matter what they're dressed like, but you can never control how other people receive them.
That's a little bit of stoicism there.
Well, I mean, how are you going to explain this? Like, essentially, even if you explain it, that person has to go into their own brain and make those changes and suspend the disbelief in their brain and where it's coming from. Because no one can do it for you because it's in your own brain unless you use drugs. How else would you do it? You can tell people about suspending disbelief, but the actual act of suspending disbelief has to be done internally. Is that still stoicism? No, it's just reality.
Well, I think I would think when I heard what you said, it's really I think the term, or the way it was expressed to me was, you just have to love the way things are, and just, but understand that that's the way things are. You can affect yourself. You can't affect other people, or you can't change other people without really changing yourself.
And even then, those people are the ones who are making the change based on the information you provide them. You're not the one making the change for them. You're just providing information.
Yeah, I met Richard once at an event for Mark Passio in Connecticut, Demystifying the Occult Part 1, and he helped record that. And afterward, we were actually at a diner having a beer, and I said, I was kind of like looking up to Richard, and oh wow, this guy, I've listened to his work for so long, and now here he is. And I was kind of telling him like, oh man, your work has changed my life so much, and what you've done is so amazing. And he did stop me, and he said, well, no, he's like, if you've changed all that much, like you did all that, he's like, I might have put the work out, I might have been able to express some ideas in a good way, but you took the information in and you took it inside and internally let it transform you. I didn't do that. And then he asked me, what was your favorite work of mine? And I said, the ultimate history lesson. I went for like the easy one that I could remember, right? Because it's like the go-to. But the greatest work we have, all of us, is yet to be produced, which is, another thing I stole from Richard. I frequently find myself taking his little anagrams or, little phrases and incorporating them in, growing in the light direction, like you guys were talking about earlier with the garden. But yeah, just thought I'd tell that little funny story there, that it absolutely is about internal change and working on yourself. Own garden. Most of the time we find that we're looking at other people's gardens, and our own garden has plenty of work to do. 99.9% of the work we need to do is in our own garden, and then the rest will kind of start to take hold and take off without you needing to force it. It's like it's like getting a date at the bar, or however you want to look at it. Like the more you try for that, the less likely that would happen. I don't have a lot of experience in that, but I think it's a good example. So what's next on Raising Excellence this coming week? You have a lot of face readings lined up. Any other topics that you'll be covering in there?
Yeah, I'll just be doing one face reading per week on a Saturday, because when I asked for volunteers for a face reading, a few people showed up, so I thought that would be a good way of doing that. We are planning to do a follow-up face reading with Dennis, because after the face reading, he uncovered some interesting bits. So then we will share that with our listeners as well. This week we're doing a time study where you're actually looking at your own day and seeing how much time you spend on each task and how those tasks are in line with your values, your goals, your mission, your vision, that kind of stuff. So just seeing if you're congruent with who you really are in the actual actions that you take on a day-to-day basis. And of course,
Yeah,
this is quantifying, and I have a hard time with that. Go ahead, Michael. This is your.
well, I was just going to say this is kind of a valuable thing that I think we're not blowing up the internet yet when it comes to our popularity of a program. We're trying to get our processes and put our show together in a way that is very effective. But I think what we've embarked on is kind of a process of self-discovery that all the students, I think, can benefit from, like the work that we've done, and essentially we're doing it ourselves. And so as you watch us go through this 8-step process over the coming weeks, it's a way that you can really get to know us, but also learn something really valuable for yourself about how to really discover who you are, what your values are, what your vision is, how to go about finding your vision, how to apply this stuff to your everyday life, all that kind of stuff. It's a kind of a more individualized version or element of, I think, what is important to autonomy in regard to kind of the psychological portion of, the inner work that we have to do to really be the best person that we can be. And, being that we've got 6 representatives of autonomy that are all kind of got their own various experiences, really kind of gives us a really interesting group of people that, that I'm sure pretty much anybody can pick one of them and identify with them in some way that is, relatively unique to them, and then follow along with what we're doing and really get something beneficial out of it. And so for the students and for the season 3 that's coming up, I think we're doing some work that's really going to become important. And then, of course, we're trying to grow our show. We're trying to also demonstrate, how to work together. And that's a whole nother thing that I think somewhere in the future we might do a little bit of a documentary on how we put this thing together and how it functioned and what kind of
Challenges.
challenges we had to face and barriers we had to overcome to build something that was awesome.
And in the meantime, what we're doing is every single week, as we look at the podcast that we did that week, we're taking feedback from listeners, and we're also looking at ourselves and going, okay, how could we do this better next time? How could we do this better next time? And essentially, we're reaching that higher excellence with every single week. So I don't usually find that there's any major difference from like inside the week, the 3 podcasts in the week, but the next week it's always like that marginally better. So hopefully one day we'll get it to the level where I'm totally happy with our production and our equipment and everything. So getting more memes. Yeah, I would love to see more memes and more clips inside the show, but it's really challenging for me to manage the OBS and look at the chat and try to continue the conversation. So as I get used to it, it'll become more second nature, and I'll be able to include more elements.
Yeah, the fact that you're doing that now, though, it'll become like driving, right? Like when you're driving, you're not really thinking about all the mechanical stuff that you're having to do, but somehow you get to that place safe, you signaled, you stopped, you hit the red light, and oftentimes I'm sometimes like, wait, I wasn't paying attention for like the last 5 minutes. Everything's fine, right? You know,
Yeah,
because
and
it
then
gets
you
automatic.
you
Yeah.
find five miles down the road after you've already signaled that the name tag is still up and it's somebody else talking and you have to turn it.
It does happen. Yeah, that's part of doing it live. I mean, absolutely. There's going to be technical issues, but I'm in the kind of the same process in my own personal project. So not what I was talking about earlier with the business and all that, but I have a personal media platform, as they call it, where I just put out my own thoughts and ideas. And, you know, same thing. Like I'm working through a lot of those initial hurdles to the point where I want it to become like the back of my hand. And, you know, all of you doing that together, you're all kind of like coming up together with those skills. And then each one of you can now stay with raising excellence, but then raise your own excellence on your own life and your own projects. I know Michael has several things going on, and Agnieszka, I know you have various clients and projects, and I know that what you're doing is adding value in all those realms too, because like Agnieszka, your presence on the screen, I noticed has gotten, like you say, slightly improving. The way that you present yourself, the camera angle, the microphone. I know you've upgraded all these things, and Michael's in the process of, I know you guys are coming together to help him upgrade some of the tech. And so, yeah, totally hear what you're saying, and I can resonate with that because I'm also in that process. And things get easier. Things that you used to be terrified of become like way back there on the road, right? Like that was like 40 miles ago. I don't even hardly remember that. And, you know, like even just this, like speaking on a podcast used to make me tremble, and I'm getting closer to the point where that's just not even an issue anymore, you know? So
Yeah, the
those are real
challenge.
things that have happened. Yeah.
This week's challenge for raising excellence is to speak in shorter sentences, be more succinct, and pass the ball more often, because I think that'll make the show more dynamic. We tend to hog the microphone in raising excellence, and we have so and we do like really excited, exactly like I was doing earlier today on this podcast. And this is exactly what we're working on in the next few weeks, is to make this less linguistic crutches like like, and or, and more just really tight sentences and passing the ball more often.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this speaks to something that for all of us that are presenting information on the internet, there's just a slew of information out there, and so what is the best way to convey information in a way that people can get it? Brevity is actually a very powerful tool, and that's something that we need to embrace and learn and become better at. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. I will never regret the 6 years I spent in Toastmasters perfecting. And the most valuable part of Toastmasters is not the giving the speech part, but the actually receiving the 30 feedback forms every time you give any speech. That's the most powerful thing. And the little speeches in Toastmasters, the little things where you have to talk for 2 minutes about how the lights work, or you have to present a joke, or you have to just introduce a topic for just like a minute. Those are the most growth promoting elements in Toastmasters, in my opinion.
And where can people find Raising Excellence if they're watching this, and what's the easiest way to follow you? Facebook, Twitter?
You can find us on YouTube. If you type in Raising Excellence, we come up right away. We're also on Facebook. We're doing Facebook Lives, and our page Raising Excellence on Facebook has a function where if we're live, it'll just show the video right on our page and play it right underneath the banner. So you can always, if you know that our shows are Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern and Wednesday at 2 p.m. You can just go to our Facebook Raising Excellence page. I don't even think you have to sign into Facebook to watch it on Facebook. You just go to the page and it play right there. And also we're on Twitter under Raise Excellence, hashtag Raise Excellence. And we're learning to do more on social media.
And our website is raisingexcellence.live.
That's true too.
All right. And if you could ask Dennis if he would like to come on Do It Live sometime. I think we're going to be taking on a few guests in the coming weeks just to kind of open up the conversation a little bit broader while we're outside of the course curriculum. So I personally would like Dennis to come on. So that would be great if you could swing that by. It's probably an odd time for him.
It's Saturday and it's kids' time at this time because he's 9 hours ahead of me, so it's like mid-afternoon. But alternatively, if you can't make that happen, have a conversation with Dennis at a different time and play it during a Do It Live. Because he's in
that's
Germany,
a good point.
So that may be.
Yeah, we could do that. I should reach out to him.
In Raising Excellence, we're coming up with this all the time because one person is in Australia, 2 people are in the States, 1 person is Mexico, 1 person is in Canada, and 1 person is in Germany. And so scheduling anything is like people have to stay up in the middle of the night in order to actually work Raising Excellence one way or the other, or get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
Yeah, which is really just another way to practice the skills of success. I mean, in my job, I have to schedule with people all around the world, and we use different apps to do that make it easier. And we have to show up on time and execute. You know, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it in some cases. And so just practicing that skill, again, is another attribute back to autonomy, and the overall goal of the course is to give you the skills that you need to move forward confidently, you know, without having to feel like you don't have the tools and, you know, all this nervousness about meeting with people and doing it live. And, you know, if you can work through and break through all these barriers and raise the ceilings like Agnieszka and the whole Raising Excellence podcast is attempting to do, that'll just put you that much further along the path. And so I would go follow these individual platforms. You can check out my YouTube channel. Michael has a BitChute channel. I'm on BitChute, but go definitely follow.
What's your channel, Tyler? Tell us about your channel.
The best way to just follow me would be tylerbloyer.com. I make it really easy. And then
what do you do on that channel?
Basically just kind of what you see me do all the time in autonomy, just talk about different aspects. I've been working for the last 6 months on the Falling into the Movement Traps series, which covers all the various pitfalls that I feel like I've personally made, and then I want to help other people kind of avoid some of the pitfalls in various revolutionary freedom, truth movements that I feel like, you know, I can help people do that, like we were talking about earlier. It's not coming across as a skill just naturally. It's actually something I've been working on quite a while now and formulating a lot of the ideas and things that I bring up into the discussion. But getautonomy.info is the site you want to hit to get autonomy. The link is in the description as well. And we are also on BitChute, YouTube. I was going to say go follow those, and go to the website and get an interview scheduled or a consultation scheduled, a meeting. That's how the very next step for you to get autonomy. It's a very simple, painless meeting that's not, you know, it doesn't cost anything. And we can do a basic like discovery call into your life and what your goals are and if autonomy is right for you. Final words before we close it out. Anybody have anything?
Just a great appreciation for everything that's going on here. You know, I really appreciate how much effort all you guys do in regards to pursuing the things that you do. I just kind of ride along, and you know, I do throw a lot of energy out in regard to this, you know, because I love it so much. But without you other guys doing what you do, it wouldn't be the same. And so much appreciation to you, and then all the other people that are making a difference here. It does make a difference, and I encourage us to keep growing this thing, keep helping other people be a part of this, because it will make a difference.
Awesome. Well, I think in the post-production, I can just cut it right there. But if not, thanks for everyone for joining, and anyone who joined Do It Live this morning. We appreciate it. Getautonomy.info again is the website, and have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.